Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ninth episode of Point of View, a series of leadership discussions by amazing workplaces. As you all know by now, in the series, I'm getting into a discussion with people in leadership positions from various organizations spread across India as well as across borders. However, today we have a surprise. We have made an exception and would talk to someone who helps people become leaders. He is a leadership mindset enthusiast and a coach who has recently launched his book as an author, Leading the Way, a journey of becoming a leader. In his career span of over 15 years, our guest today has had the opportunity to work with multiple multinational organizations and SMEs as an executive trainer, leader, and a coach. He has also had the honor of working with the world's best professional training institute, Dale Carnegie Training India, as a trainer, and with Asia's best business coaching institution, Quantum Leap Learning Solutions, as a business leadership coach. All these experiences have given him opportunities to observe, train, and coach hundreds of leaders and business professionals over the years. So, without invading the limelight from him any further, let me introduce to you Prashant Handoo. Hello, Prashant. I'm really so delighted to have you on Point of View today.
Hi, Ekta. I'm glad that I'm here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thanks for accepting the invitation to be here.
You're
Uh,
welcome always.
it's really interesting to be talking to you after such a long while, and if I remember, I've always looked up to you as a coach, somebody who has always had answers to every problem that we used to come up with. So really interesting to be on the other side and asking different kinds of questions to you. uh,
Yeah, it's interesting also to have this kind of a conversation with you, Ekta. I've been following your show for a while. I have been looking at episodes and the conversations that have happened. So I think it's very interesting to see the perspectives that you bring on your show. And I was very glad when you invited me to be a part of those people, such an elite kind of a group of people who have so much value that they are adding to this world right now because it's needed. So thank you so much for having me here. I'm very glad that I'm here.
I'm also extremely excited, because the thing is that till now we have been talking to leaders, yeah, like I mentioned. And this is the first time I'm talking to somebody who actually trains leaders, who tells people how to, do what to do, in leadership position. So it's really going to be interesting conversation with you. I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, so, Prashant, like we all know, you're a business leadership coach. And from what I know of you personally, you're a great motivator, someone I've always seen enthusiastic, positive, and full of life. You've closely worked with business owners to help them scale up. So, why choose to write a book on leadership for your debut as an author?
Great. So why write a book on leadership and not something else? So, Ekta, a couple of things that are very important, specifically because I come from the world of training and coaching. Telling stories, influencing people, inspiring people, making people think, making people connect with you as people is a very important part of our role. That is how we do or get good and efficient at what we do as leaders, as coaches, as trainers. And that is how the participants, the coaches, the business owners who we work with also understand what we are trying to say, and then they can apply it in their personal or professional life. So, having said that, to be more specific about why book on leadership, there are two questions that were running in my mind. One, a book is a source of storytelling. A book is a source of reaching out to n number of people who you don't even have control over how many will it reach out to. So there has to be an underlying message that you need to draw in the book, which one could come from your own experiences of life. Number two could come from the experiences that you have observed somebody else going through. There are only two possibilities. So I asked myself that, Prashant, what are the experiences that you have gone through in your own life that have added value to you and that you respect and are grateful for? And number two, what have you observed well enough closely in your life, personally and professionally, that you can talk about it and you feel it can bring some change in the world or the world needs to hear it. Now, when this clarity is what I gained in few months, is when one thing that constantly was in my head was that it has to be something regarding human relationships. It has to be something around human behavior. But one word that constantly stuck in my head was leadership. That what is that one element that can add maximum value to people? What is that one skill set that can add maximum value to an organization, can add maximum value to people in their personal life, and can add maximum value to the overall world around? That word kept ringing in my head. Ki, Prashant, leadership hai that has made the difference in your life. It is your leaders who have made you who you are that you need to be grateful for. Right from my father, who was my first leader, coach, and mentor, to all the professional leaders and coaches who have come in my life, have shaped me from being someone who was extremely shy, timid, bullied child and a teenager to someone who is extremely confident. And I don't say it arrogantly, I say it with complete self assurance because I have earned it. A very well aware and confident individual. That journey was possible only because I had those people in my life who played the role of leaders knowingly or unknowingly. So when I introspected and thought about these things, I could not think of anything else other than leadership that I have the right to talk about through my experiences. I have the right to talk about through the things that I have observed and seen very keenly and closely. And the world needs to hear it because it is the need of the hour for today, has been in the past, and will continue to be in the future. It's a very important set of skills. That's why leadership.
Thank you, Prashant. I think that was a very good way of expressing how people have influenced your life, and seems that this is a kind of a tribute that you are paying to the people who have actually influenced
Yes.
your life.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And so, Prashant, since you chose to write on the subject of leadership, how do
Mm-hmm.
you feel this book is different from any other leadership book? Because we see so many of these leadership books every day. Yeah.
So, how is this book different? So, I don't know if I can say it's different or not. But what I can say without comparing it to any other book is this book has my story in it, and I know nobody has told that before. My parents haven't written a book, so only they know this. So I know I'm the first one to tell my story. So that's one that makes it unique. And from whatever I have read, about 40 to 60 books that I would have read in my lifetime, I have not come across a book, and this is a business coach talking. Okay, so from a coaching point of view, I'm just being very objective about this book as a product. Now, when I look at it and read it, one thing that I felt as a reader was I have not come across a book that is self narrative in nature, where someone is just taking us through a story of their life. And while that person is doing that, there is a lot that the person is trying to say. There is a lot that person is going through while he is saying that story. And the reader can feel that. That's a feedback that I'm getting from readers, that they can connect with me through emotions. And people who have not known me are also telling me, Prashant, we know you now. Like we can sit with you and talk to you about your life as if we have lived your life with you. And there are people who are giving me feedback that they've been able to apply certain lessons in their personal life. There are people who are giving feedback that they've been able to introspect and reflect on their leadership style, and they're trying to change and bring in certain elements into their leadership now that will bring that change. So I would say that is what is different, and that's what I could at least figure out. What is unique about this book is a narrative style of storytelling where I'm just saying things as they happened, and I'm also highlighting my thoughts and my observations that were happening in the background while all that was happening in my life. I think that that's unique and different about it. And I'm majorly saying this because of my introspection, and number two, because of the feedback that I've been getting from the readers, that this is what they see is the USP, as they call it, for a certain product or a service. This is what they feel is different and is adding maximum value.
Okay, so if I may just sum up what I am able to understand is that this book is basically not in a preaching style for leadership. It's more about your story and the lessons that you have learned in your journey, right? And
Absolutely.
people
That's
can
what it
have
is.
their takeaways from it. Okay, so while we're still on this question, I just want to ask you one thing. If you may just, explain in one or two sentences, who exactly is this book targeted at? What is the section of the society that this book is targeted at?
So, number one, the story and the learnings that come out from the book. If I talk about a broader horizon of audience, then people who are have just finished college or are probably around 18 to 21 years of age group, it can start influencing you from there. And people who are in a strategic management role, who are running their businesses and their teams, or in some form have a people management role assigned or attached to them, can do it. So from 21 to wave to 40, 45 to 50, this book can help you. If you are in complete strategic management, which means you have nothing major to do when it comes to managing people, your role majorly is to build strategies that will be implemented by your tactical leaders and it will finally reach out to people. Then this book may be of 20 to 30% value to you. But anything till that tactical, where you have people reporting to you, where you have a team to manage, handle, and responsibility for, this book will help you. So I would say 21 to 45, 50. But
Yeah.
if I have to cut this down and tell you who would probably be the number one, saying that, okay, Prashant, you don't have an option. So you can't give me like 20, 30 years. Tell me number one, number two, number three. Then I would say number one is entrepreneurs and business owners, because they are in a position of leadership where they can make decisions. Number two, the entire organization is run by them.
Yeah.
Number three, they have too many people to be responsible for and they have too much at stake. So for them to be a leader is extremely important for them to manage their personal and professional life both, because I have seen them struggling in both areas. It seems like their world is fancy, but they are struggling. There are certain skills that can make their life easy, personally and professionally. So I would say they are the ones who can benefit the most. Number two, tactical leaders in the corporate world who have people reporting to them can definitely benefit. Number two. And number three, even the HR professionals can learn and see my journey through an eyes of an employee, because HR is responsible for A to Z journey of an employee in an organization. So when they hear an honest perspective from an employee, because they rarely get to hear that, right? There is nobody who is not trying to be politically correct. So if they read the book, they will actually understand what an employee feels and goes through from being a level A employee to moving to different leadership roles. What does the journey look like, and what is the employee actually thinking, which they never tell us. So an HR can also take away from it and help to build certain policies or procedures or interventions for their organizations that could add value. So this is how I would say one, two, and three.
Okay, interesting. I think you've done a lot of research on your target audience. Pretty interesting. So, Prashant, I mean, I mentioned in the initial the introduction also, our show basically focuses on leaders and how they transform their workplaces.
Mhm.
And since you are a leadership coach and work with people to predominantly develop their leadership skills, I would like you to validate the statement leaders can transform workplaces. Let's hear it from you. Yeah.
I would say we'll just change this or add something to the statement. I would say only leaders can transform workplaces. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Now, in my journey of training and coaching for these many years, I have worked with multiple organizations, number one as an employee. And more than that, my 80% of experience comes from working with multiple organizations as a trainer and a coach, where I would have spoken to 20, 30 different multinational organizations who are in the Forbes list, who are supposedly the best, one of the best organizations in the world. And my biggest realization working with those organizations was that whatever be the scale of the organization, be it somebody who has just three employees, who is just a micropreneur, be it somebody who is the largest corporate in the world and has 1.5 million employees, one thing that remains common, one thread that remains common in this entire thing is people,
Yeah.
is human emotions. That is what does not deviate or does not change. A person who has just three employee team and is running a business, or somebody who has a 3,000, 3 lakh, or a 3 million team that is being run, The common thread is people.
Right.
And leadership is the only thing, leadership is the only skill that can actually bring a change in an organization, because they have the authority to bring that change. That's very critical. A lot of times we talk against that authority. We say that leadership is not an authority, leadership is not a designation, keep all that aside, which is being understood in a very wrong way. It's misunderstood that authority and designation is very important, because it also comes with the power of having the ability to make that change. If you are in a leadership role, your people will follow you. If you are in a leadership role, your people will observe your behavior, your actions, and the way you are behaving, and they will try to replicate it. Knowingly, unknowingly, there is no employee who wants to be in the bad books of a leader. An employee always tries to do the best that a leader will look at them in the best possible way. So if you are a leader, you are the only one who can bring any kind of transformation in an employee and in the organization, because your people will follow you. And the biggest mistake that I've seen that's happening in the corporate world, but I see it's not happening in the SME world, is, and it's majorly because of the decision making process. In the corporate world, there is a long chain that one particular decision has to go through before it is a yes or a no for that decision. And that takes months and sometimes even years to bring in a very small change. And by that time, the damage is done. But in the world of entrepreneurs, the decision making process is fast. I like that about that world. It's a lesser population, so it's quick to make decisions, and whatever you want to change can be brought in a week or two maximum. It does not take more than that. The reason I'm saying this point, Ekta, and I'm bringing this across is, when you say leadership can transform organizations or workplaces, that can only happen if it starts from the top. If you are an SME and if you as a business owner do not present certain behaviors, do not believe in a certain value system, but you want your organization to represent that, it's not going to happen. Even if they do it, it will fail, it will fall down on the face in a long run. Similarly, in a corporate world, if you have to bring in a change, I understand there it is not possible for us to start working from a CEO level. And if I take up that project, I'll have to work for 30 years with one organization. And by the time I reached the 30th year, the entire cycle would have changed and I would have to restart.
Yeah.
So at a corporate world, it needs to start with that first leader in the organization, the first team leader who has 8 to 9 executives reporting to them. And then you have the second level of leadership who have 8 to 10 team leaders reporting to them. Then you have third level who have 3 to 4 managers reporting to them. This tactical level is what we can focus on in the corporate world. And only they can transform the organization, because it's a ripple effect. I just need to work with 20 people to make a change in 2,000 people. That is how powerful it is. If I can shift the thought process, if I can shift the behavioral pattern, if I can shift the way of thinking and functioning of just 20 people, they will have that ripple effect on 2,000 people in that organization. And as they move organizations and grow to different places in their life, that ripple effect will continue and they will hit 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people in their lifetime. So the statement is very true and I stand by it, just with a little edit, that do not depend on employees to bring that change, because they will only do what a leader permits, what a leader inspires them to do, and what a leader actually allows them to do or be in that workplace. So only leaders can transform workplaces, and that will bring in the transformation in the employees. This is what I feel.
Okay, interesting. So, while we are still on this question of leadership, can you just list three top qualities of being a leader according to you? I'm not
Three
saying in
top
general, but
qualities.
according to you. Yeah.
So I'll say I'll take a liberty and give you six, because I talk about six in my book,
Okay.
and I call it 6C leadership. And there's a reason these six are important, because they connect well with each other and they form like a skill set of leadership together. The first one that I feel is the foundation, and the foundational C is calmness. If as a leader you do not have the ability to be present, if as a leader you do not have an ability to be aware of your emotions, be have the ability to manage your emotions and have the ability to manage the emotions of your people, everything else will fail, because everything else stands on this. It's very important for you as a leader to have that ability to be calm. Number two, once you have had that ability, the second thing that you need to have and also instill in your people is courage. So when I talk about courage, I'm talking about vulnerability, ability to be yourself, ability to allow your people to be themselves. That's very, very important, because that is when you and your people will actually function like people and not like machines. Leadership with time is becoming very calculative in nature. The entire equation is just becoming 1 plus 2 equal to 3, and everybody is just trying to figure out ways of making that 1 plus 2 equal to 3. That's all that they want. But you need to give that courage to your people to question, saying that, okay, no, why is 1 plus 2 3? Why can't 1 plus 2 be 4? Why can't 1 plus 2 be 5? Why can't 1 plus 2 be 10? Let them question that. Are they right? Are they wrong? It's a different scenario or a different conversation altogether. But having that courage to allow yourself and your people to start questioning that status quo, saying that, I think differently, and your people to have the confidence that our leader encourages that. He allows that and he wants us to think that way, brings in a lot of change in a team. And that way, the relationship between the leader and his people remains very real. There is no assumptions, there is no gossip, there is no perceived reality. There is actual reality. So that makes the courage element very powerful. Now, once you have calmness and courage, third element, which is very important, is clarity.
Yeah.
For you to get what you want, you need to know what you want. And more than that, you need to know why you want it. Now, the reason there are excuses that come our way, Ekta, in life for us to achieve something or do something is because the reason behind it is not very strong. What you stand to gain from it and what you stand to lose if you don't get it is not strong enough to push you to go and do that task. If there is a gun at your head and somebody says, if you don't do this, I'll shoot, you will not come up with excuses saying that कि अभी मन नहीं कर रहा है, धूप बहुत ज्यादा है, या मौसम बदलते ही करूंगा. You will not do that. Nothing else will come into your mind. You will just go because your life is at stake. Similarly, I've seen a lot of people जिनको डॉक्टर ने अगर बोल दिया that you are at a risk of heart attack. Do you smoke? And the answer is yes. If you smoke, you will probably die soon. अगले दिन से वो बंदा नहीं स्मोक कर रहा because the stakes are high. But for a very long time, his wife, his parents, people have been telling him to quit, but for years he has not done it. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's important for you to have a pain and pleasure point, which means you need to know what is at stake in terms of how will you feel when you get there? How will you feel when you achieve what you're going behind? And how will you feel if you don't get it? What do you stand to lose? That is a clarity of vision and clarity of intention that you need to have. Once this is achieved, then you move to the next level, which is compassion. क्योंकि जैसा मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा, end of the day you are working with people. I am a person as a leader. Just because I have the leadership tag does not mean I am not a person anymore. I am not a human being anymore. End of the day, हम लोग कितनी भी fancy बातें कर लें, we might talk about development, we might talk about anything that's happening to this world. It's becoming digital. Lot of conversations can happen. One thing that will not change will be that basic need of humans to connect with each other as humans. Even if the whole world goes digital, we will still want to connect with people. That will not go away. That day will never come where we'll be like, I don't want to see anyone ever for 80 years of my life, locked in a room, screens all over me, and I'm living a happy life. It will not happen. I can challenge that. It's
We've
not
already seen the repercussion.
big time. Big time.
COVID
It's
has
big
shown
time.
that, yeah.
Absolutely. And it will only increase. Trust me, I have a very strong belief that we're just at an edge of it. And as we move forward, we'll actually start realizing the power of humor connection. And in a way, I know there is a lot of bad things that have happened. There is a lot of things that are still happening. But there is an element of good also that's coming out of this. This is like, a buzz that everybody needed, a shock that the world needed to understand the power of humor connect. In the name of development, we have been screwing up a lot of things. In the name of making profits and growing organizations and success, we have been screwing up a lot of things. So I think this is where HR will become strong. This is where the HR will get its due that has been not given to them for a very long time. And this is where human connect and human relationships will become very strong. And I think this is too early to talk about it. But if we talk after 6, 12 months from now, I'm sure we will see all this happening already.
Right.
Coming back to the elements, so courage, we started with calmness, courage, clarity. Then the reason I'm talking about these things is compassion. That human connect will never die. That's very important for you to connect with people as people. Understand the person behind the employee, and also understand the person behind the leader. I'm even talking to the employees that your leader is not a superhero. He's not a Superman or an Iron Man sitting there with gadgets. Your leader is also a human being. Connect with him. He also needs that support. You feel it's easy for him to sit on that chair having 20 people reporting to him? No. Leader's job is also very difficult. So as employees connect with your leaders, he also needs that. He or she also needs that. Now, after compassion, what's very important is celebration and appreciation. We lose the meaning of celebration. In organizations, I've seen celebrations are awaited for something big to happen, a huge success to happen. There are things happening at your workplace at everyday space. There are things that you can appreciate on everyday basis for employees, for yourself, for people who are working in your support staff. There is so much to appreciate every day and celebrate. So to keep that element of celebration alive, will keep that element of gratitude alive. When you celebrate things, you become grateful for those things. When you don't celebrate it, you don't become grateful for those things. So if you want to have that element of gratitude in yourself as a leader and want it in your people and organization, make celebration a very integral part of your organization. Don't feel that you're over celebrating. You can never over celebrate. Celebrate, bring that element of gratitude, and you will see that power that your organization will build of gratitude, and that's very important. Once I've spoken about all these things, now is the time for you to work on the 6C, which is congruence, which means, okay, Prashant, we heard all these things. Sounds great. We started implementing. We did it for a day. We did it for a week. We did it for a month. We did it for 6 months. And then the graph started coming down. Now, it's very important for you to be congruent to these things because your people are observing. They will not follow you. They will not believe you. They will not trust you if you demonstrate these behaviors for a day, for a week, or a month. These need to become a part of your value system. These need to become a part of the way you are being in your organization. Is when your people will start following it because your congruence will lead them to become congruent. So I'll just say this quickly once again. So calmness, courage, clarity, compassion, celebration, and congruence. I think these 6 values, which are very much ignored in organizations or not given as much importance as they should, it's time we bring them back. And these elements can actually help organizations and leaders become the best that they can. This is what I feel like.
Okay, interesting. I think six was a better number to explain.
I have a tendency of giving 5 marks answers for a 1 mark question. So, I just say out what I feel like saying out. So, I hope I'm not taking much of the time.
Nee, nee, thank you so much. And tell me one thing now. Uh, I mean, again, a leadership thing. Who is a favorite leader?
My favorite leader. I'm very biased for some reason towards Steve Jobs, and I'll tell you why. Now, after reading his book, there are a lot of things that I got to know about him as a person. So there is not everything about him that I look up to anymore. So things have changed in my perspective because I did not know him as a person. But if I talk about his ability to innovate, if I talk about his ability to have a vision and to see things that people can't see, I liked what he said when he said that, a lot of businesses are working on the needs of their target market. I am working on creating a need for my target market that they don't even know is a need yet.
Right.
So I am going beyond even my target market or my audience or my customers. Even they don't know that they want what they want. I am creating that want. So that was something beautiful that I liked. Another thing that I like in terms of when it comes to people leadership, the person that I admire the most is Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is considered to be the father of self-development. Like he is one of those pioneers with Napoleon Hill and a couple of others who brought in this whole element of people development and the focus on human emotions. That 30 principles that he has come up with, if you get a choice, have you read that book, Ekta? Have you heard about it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's a very powerful book. I'll show you. I have So this is the book. The book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think everybody should read this book. It has
It's
very
an
small
old, pretty
and
old book, yeah?
beautiful. crazily old book. The
Yeah.
principles have been held good for almost 100 years. Like, it has seen all the revolutions for us, like from the Stone Age to the digital age. It has seen everything. So it's tested through all the times, and it still is very powerful, and it will remain powerful forever. Basic human principles. So I would say, he's somebody who I look up to when it comes to anything about people and about emotional leadership, as the real connection of leadership.
Okay, interesting. So from Steve Jobs to Dale Carnegie, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so tell me one thing, Prashant. Do you feel that the quality of leadership at the workplace needs to change? And if so, how? Because you've already mentioned the six principles of leadership, six qualities basically which you believe in, right, and which you propagate in your book. So, going by that, do you feel the things need to change in the workplace?
So, Ekta, that's a very subjective question to ask, because there might be a workplace that does not need a change, and there might be one that needs a change, right? So, I don't know if there is an objective answer to that, but if I look at it in a subjective manner and look at the general trend that I see out there when I meet leaders, when I see organizations, the trend is at a subjective level that yes, the focus on human emotions, the focus on the people element of business has been reducing for a very long time, and the graph has been just coming down. However, the graph is going up now. Human emotions have been getting more attention lately. People are taking this whole self development, personal development, the space of leadership development more seriously. Because when I started training and coaching, there was a time when, the coaching and training, this whole intervention was seen as a checkbox. Like, I've had conversations with people who are like, yeah, yaar, we have to do 6 trainings this month. So which six should we do? Let's do two for entry level employees. Let's do for tactical level management, two for strategic level management. So we are done. There is a budget of this. This
More
3
like
lakhs,
a
4
tick
lakhs is done
box.
with this. There is a checkbox that that it has to be done. Now that shift is happening. I see the shift in conversations happening, that people are more interested in, they understand the power of it now. They understand what it can bring. It's not just a good feel conversation that you have with people. It's a transformational conversation that you have with people, and it's not a one time conversation. It's a journey that you need to go. If Ekta, I have to work with you, and if there is a certain goal that you have to achieve, and there are certain shifts that I wouldn't say I have to bring. There are certain shifts that both of us realize are required for you to become that person to achieve what you want to achieve. It will not happen in a day. You might get inspired for a day, but after two, life will take over and you will get back to where you were. So
Absolutely.
there needs to be longer intervention, longer journeys that are required. And I see that shift happening now. Organizations are ready for it. Organizations are accepting it, be it business owners, SMEs at micro or at a large level, or be it corporates. They are more accepting of such conversations. They are more accepting of such interventions. So I would say at a subjective level that yes, a shift is required and it's happening. So we are in a good space. Long way to go, but it's started. So that's a good thing.
Okay, thanks. So, Prashant, this brings us to the last question of this episode. The world is going through a great crisis. We all know that because of the pandemic, and workplaces have been disrupted like never before. And managing people and teams is a challenge that all managers and people leaders are facing. In this current scenario, how do you feel the role of leaders at the workplace changes in the pandemic and in the post pandemic scenario?
So, Ekta, I feel when it comes to leadership, as we discussed earlier, that only leaders can transform a workplace because they are the drivers, they are the captains of the ship of a workplace. So they get to steer the direction of the ship or whatever vehicle they are driving, and employees are just the passengers in that ship who are following the direction of the captain or the driver of that vehicle. So, in the current situation where the entire ship is going through a pandemic, where the entire ship is going through a shift at an emotional level because of the way the entire organization is functioning from home, employees are working at home, and there is a lot of stress that it's causing at home because The entire household is not used to having somebody work at home, and we want the entire household to behave in a certain way, and there should not be any noise, there shouldn't be any distractions,
Right.
because it's increasing the work time of an employee. The feedback that I'm getting from a lot of employees is that the work that they were able to do in 6 to 8 hours at a workplace, they're not able to finish it even 13 to 15 hours now at home, because there are a lot of distractions. Over and above that, it's causing stress for the entire household because they don't understand the dynamics of a workplace. They do understand that their husband, their father, their mother, or their daughter is working, but what they don't understand is that 13 to 15 hours the household has to behave in a certain way, because not everyone has the designated space, a separate room which is locked out, and they can create an office in it. Not everyone has the luxury to do that. Now, certain organizations have started giving some payout for people to build that infrastructure at home, but that can only bring in the material aspect of it. That cannot have an impact on the emotional aspect of it. Now, having said that, this is why leadership becomes very important. Now, knowing that an employee is going through these things, because as a leader, even you are an employee. If you're a business owner, even then, you have things to do that you are doing now from home. So you can sympathize and empathize more with your people because you're going through the same stress that they are going through. Now, the only difference here is that as an employee is responsible only for their individual stress. But as a leader, you're responsible for stress of those 5, 10, 15, 20 people that are reporting out to you, right? So when it comes to leadership, number one, as an HR function, what I would suggest, we need to be more empathetic towards leaders, because there is a lot of expectations now from leaders, and their role is also not easy to manage people at a digital space, not having them in front of them, having 15 to 20 people reporting to them on daily basis. So be more empathetic towards leaders because their role is getting very challenged. Number two, when it comes to leaders, this is your real test. Now, whatever a leader has done pre-pandemic, the kind of relationships that you have built with your people, the kind of value system that you have instilled in your people, all that is showing up now, which means it's the time to reap. Whatever you had sown in pre-pandemic, now you're reaping that.
Right.
Leaders who have done an efficient job pre-pandemic of building a team that has great value system, building a team that is independent, building a team that is courageous, building a team that trusts each other and works well with each other, they are taking initiatives and working well with each other. And leaders' job has in fact become more easy because their team is already ready for it in some way, because they trust each other, they connect with each other, they're working with each other, they're taking it like a challenge, like a project, saying that let's make it happen. Let's keep the minimum to our leadership. Let's make it happen, because they have been given that freedom before to become that kind of people. Those leaders who have not, those leaders who have been keeping an eye on their people, who have been micromanaging, who have been able to get work done from their people by being on their head 8 hours a day, are facing the biggest challenge because they never were leaders. They were only supervisors. They were like just that big boss camera, who are observing their people and capturing everything and giving feedback on that weekend cover on Saturday, Sunday as a review to people. So those leaders are getting tested now because they don't know what to do. They have no idea how to work with people when they're not physically present, because they were anyways not able to get the job done efficiently when they were physically present. So that is number one challenge. So my suggestion to leaders now is that this is your real test. If you were not a leader before this is a time to become one. This is a time where you need to be maximum available for your people. I understand it's not easy, and I hope the HR provides you that support that is required. But you need to up your game because your people are expecting a lot from you, at least for next 3 to 4 months. That the toughest period is over, but the tough period is still going on. So your people need you the most. So make sure, number one, you communicate with them. Lack of information can only cause confusion. Additional information from additional resources can also cause a lot of confusion. So safety and security is what your people are looking at. So make sure that you're having that conversation with your people, to keeping them transparently aware of what's actually happening in the organization, and mostly talk about safety and security of their job. Second, talk about their performance and the expectations in terms of the growth of the business, in terms of the targets that they have to achieve. Number three, what's very important, to keep that alignment as a team together. Have more conversations as a group, bring them together and make them aware that this is a temporary situation and not permanent. And give them these roles, the small leadership roles, where you have an employee A who has a certain skill set that he is good at. Give him the responsibility of handling that entire thing for the whole team. Pass on and delegate more, because if you don't, you will get frustrated as a leader. So delegation is going to play a very important role. So to sum it up and just tell in 3 points, number one, HR function is going to be at top, which is has to be empathetic with leaders because it's a very tough time for leaders, especially. Number two, for leaders, your people need you the most. So you need to up your game and you need to be more available and more communicative with your team, keeping conversations around safety, security, performance, and getting the team together to work with each other. Number three, if you are not a delegator, this is the high time you start identifying the skills, resources that you have, and start delegating the most and make this time the time for strength for your people to grow.
Thank you, Prashant. I think that was really amazing. And, I really liked 2 points which you mentioned. First is empathy towards leaders. So, we always talk about empathy from the leadership side. Hardly anybody talks about empathy towards leader. And, like you rightly pointed it out, now is the time when leaders also need empathy because they are actually they have taken up a very challenging role as of now.
Yes.
Secondly, like you mentioned, that if your relationship with your team was not good enough, then right now you're facing that challenge. Wherever you had invested in those relationships, that trust element, right now you're reaping the benefits as a leader. So, those are really two very interesting points that you have covered here. And thank you so much for this conversation. Talking to
You're
you
welcome, Ekta.
has always been interesting because and interesting and enriching also because you always come up with really some interesting facts. Thanks once again, Prashant, to be on for being on the show today with us. Thanks for
You're
that.
welcome, Ekta. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish all the best to all the leaders. I know it's tough. This is the time to up your game.
Thank you so much. And before we close in, actually, I'd like you to show your book and tell us, where it is available so that anybody who has made it to the last of the till the last point of the interview, they'll definitely order it.
Sure, it's
Yeah.
available on Amazon. It's Leading the Way by me, Prashant Handoo. You can also go to my website, prashanthandoo.com. You have information available there of the links to buy the book and read a little about it before you buy it. And also get to know a little more about me before you buy this book. It's available on my website.
And you can also, since you have already watched this interview, you already know what Prashant is all about. Yeah. Thank you so much once again.
You're welcome, Ekta. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.